From day one on this channel, it's always been about opinions, differences of opinions, people having the same opinions, sharing opinions, all that kind of stuff. And when it comes to the LeBron 17 highs especially, they divide opinions, but that's fine. It's fine for people not to like them and fine for people to love them. Which side of the fence am I on? I absolutely love them. I think the LeBron 17 high is an iconic shoe, and I think in years to come people will look back on it as being one of the classics of the LeBron line, in the same way they look back at certain Jordans and say, you know what, that particular one was really standalone classic. And I think that's the same for the 17s. Why am I saying that? Because here's the 18s. The 18s have started to sort of leak out there a little bit, you know, shots of LeBron wearing them in pickup games and things like that. Not really official images yet, but these storyboard images, these mock-ups, if you like, certainly tell us where the shoe's going. And that means the year of the 17 is sort of coming to a close. We're winding down what would have been the end of the sort of, you know, NBA season and into the summer as we wind down to 17s and look forward to the 18s. But they're not done yet. There's still a few to come, and then this sneaker today is one of those that's going to, you know, finish up the year of the 17 in style. And it's a really interesting sneaker, really interesting design, fascinating size run, really unique thing that they've done on the tongue. Great looking shoe, fantastic colorway, a great way to bring the year to the end. I'm sure there'll be a few more after this, but for now what we're going to be doing is looking at one of the very last LeBron 17s to drop in this year, the year of the 17s, and that's the Nike Lebron 17 High Constellations. This is the Tokyo Butter 23 Sneaker Channel. Tokyo Butter 23 Sneaker Channel des. Mainichi Yapsuru no de, Mainichi Mite Kudasai. Every single day from Tokyo, Japan, I bring you content about upcoming sneaker releases, sneaker news, and sneaker reviews. And today what we're looking at is an upcoming release of the Nike Lebron 17 High Constellations. And straight off the bat, we have to talk about the size run for these guys, because they only come in two sizes, and that's preschool and grade school, which is not adult sizes. And at first I was kind of like, I don't like it when they play around with size runs. I think they should just go full size runs for everybody, and whoever likes a shoe wears a shoe. But then I was thinking, like, imagine if you're in, you know, grade school, you're grade, you know, 6 or 7 or something like that, and you're wearing these on court, and an older person, an adult, or, you know, high school student sees them and it's like, dude, where'd you get them? They're amazing. You're like, sorry, only for the grade school kids. So those grade school kids will be, you know, pumped up and sort of like, yeah, look at me. So I kind of, you know, get it from that point of view, that it's a gift to the grade school kids to have something that the older people don't get their hands on. But still, it's like, you know, if people want them, people should be able to wear them. And it is a great looking shoe. It's got a great story, and there's a great bunch of stuff going on in there. But before we jump into that, let's jump into those 18s and go back to that shot I showed you earlier of the mock-up of what the 18s looks like. Because what they seem to have gone for, what they're talking about, is that the front half of the shoe and the back half of the shoe do totally different things. One's more about power and the other one's more about balance, I think was the kind of idea that they were going for. So you've got that really solid, stable heel, which will provide the stability for movement, lateral movement and stuff like that. And then you've got that kind of flexible front half of the shoe, which will give you that bounce and the spring that you need. And I get that kind of idea, and I'm sure that's clever from the branding people's point of view. But for me, it's a step backwards as far as LeBrons are concerned, especially when you look at the 15s and 16s, which already kind of had that two-half shoe motif to them, and then the 17s came along and just blew it all apart. And then we've gone back to that kind of two-half shoe motif again, which just makes the 17s look even better, which I'm grateful for, because I do truly love the 17, and especially the older versions, the adult sizes, because the adult sizes do something that the small sizes don't, which we're going to get into in this video today right now. So first things first, there's two colorways, well, not two colors, there's two silhouettes that we're looking at. It's the same colorway, it's called Constellations. Basically both shoes have a black base, and then on top of that a deep blue color that goes to not really complement would be the opposite, if you like, you know, if it was black down below and then white up above sort of thing. But it's really two very dark colors, but it works very, very well. Really neat shoe. I'm actually reminded of the LeBron 17s. I can't remember what they're called now, but it's the More Than an Athlete, I think they were called, which is a beautiful shoe tied up with more LeBron's business side of things than the basketball side of things. But that was a very blue shoe, but I think it had more of a white base, whereas these guys today have that black base. So it's a very deep coloured shoe. Now they are two very different shoes, the grade school and the preschool element, and what I thought the way to look at that was on the heel. So what we'll do is we'll look at the grade school heel first, and you can see it's very similar to what you'd normally get from a LeBron 17 high, especially as far as the sort of the little pods of colour on there, and especially those little pods, the way there's a sort of swirl in there. I've likened it to Jupiter before, the planet Jupiter, and the way the storms of Jupiter kind of swirl, and I've looked at the LeBron Lakers before to talk about this, and hopefully I can bring up that Lakers picture and you can see that kind of swirl effect that's going on there. I'm stressing that point because it's a major feature of the grade schools, but it's very much not on the preschool. So before I put up that preschool picture, and you can see the heel of the preschool picture, let's keep an eye on this grade school heel right in here. Little sort of small buds or sections on there with that colour and that swirl, and then if we trade it up to the preschool version, you can see it's a very different structure to the shoe, much larger sections of that blue colouring, much less of that swirl effect going on. But you know, we're talking about preschool here, right? You know, we're talking about age 3 and 4 years old, so from a design point of view, it's very hard to kind of fit those, you know, big design points that you get on the larger shoes into that smaller shoe. So I get that they're different, but it's important for you, the viewer out there, to know that they're different and know where that difference comes from. Another difference to look at is on the lateral side, that you can see the air unit very visible on the grade school guys. You'll be able to see here with that air unit towards the back half of the shoe, but then if we flip that out to the lateral side of the preschools, you can see that that air unit's totally gone. And again, that's to do with size. You couldn't really fit an air unit on a tiny little shoe for a tiny little foot, and then even if you could, it might not be the best thing to do on a developing foot for a little kid. You want a bit more stability than what you would get with an air unit down there. So it might be to do with design, it might be to do with functionality, but either way, the preschools don't have it and the grade schools do. And then if we kind of come along that midsole unit, you'll be able to see the difference between the two, especially in terms of the grade school one has that sort of fade, and I think I'm right in saying going back to front, it's a darker midsole at the back that fades to a lighter midsole at the front and is speckled all the way through. But then if we do the same effect, if we go back to front on the preschool ones, you can see it's a whole different sort of ball game going on down there. And that's, you know, I'm not saying it's a bad thing or anything like that, I'm just highlighting the differences between the two shoes, especially if people out there are thinking about getting their hands on either one of these pairs. Now, a unique element to these shoes, which is easier to see from the medial side, so let's go grade school medial, and I haven't seen this very often on LeBron, so it's kind of interesting to see it here. And we'll start with the heel and we'll pan forward on the shoe from through the ankle and then the sort of midfoot section and onto the toe box, and what you can see is a very big contrast between that swirl effect of the ankle and then when you get into the forefoot section, it's a very big contrast. Often, maybe even usually, you don't see much of a contrast between those two halves of the shoe, but on these guys it's very, very pronounced. And if we flip it back out to the preschool ones as well, you'll be able to see that sort of two section of the shoe and how the end, the back half is very, you know, signature LeBron 17, and then the front half is a very different sort of knit to it and a very different color going on in there. And then the final thing that I really want to look at, actually there's two more things. I'll go to the least sort of, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for, the least sort of power play part of this, and what I'm talking about is the outsoles, and both the outsoles are almost identical. Total single color outsole in that sort of bright light blue effect. Sometimes that signature box in the middle there has a different color on it, which they haven't gone with on here, and hopefully I'm showing you both pairs of outsoles, and you can see the similarity in color, similarity in design, similarity in that sort of middle section not being a different color from the rest of the shoe. Love the LeBron 17 outsole. I think it's an absolutely beautiful, like a skin effect that goes with it. I think it's a great look, and on both of these you're getting that great look from both the shoes. And then the final thing to look at is, like I said, it's the main signature of the shoe. They're called the Constellations, and hopefully what I'll be able to do is sort of run up the tongues on the grade school ones and then run up the tongues on the preschool ones, and we stop at the top of the tongues and you can see those constellations in there, but they're not constellations. Hopefully everybody knows that already, but it's worth stating that what they are actually is sort of run lines for plays, for LeBron's favorite plays, and it's to do with like the position of the players, this player moving here and cutting that way, this player coming through here, and then when they're put together, it gives a sort of constellation effect. So even though it says constellations, these aren't really about constellations up in the sky, they're about the constellations that the movement of basketball players leave as they sort of run around the basketball court. So I think that's absolutely cool. I think it's a really, really neat feature of these shoes. I think it's a good play on that constellation theme, and it's kind of timely because just today we had that news coming of the SpaceX coming back from the International Space Station. So there's space in the news, and these guys dropping on August the 15th, which is probably about a week away, maybe 10 days away. I always do these videos, in advance of the drop. So I think it's a good time to be talking about space, even though these guys are actually gameplays and not constellations. I think it's enough for that interest level to be there, and I think a lot of people will be interested in the shoes. A lot of older people will be disappointed they can't get them in their size, but I think, you know what, Shogunai, as they say here, which means tough, sucks to be you, or that's life, or any of those things. Shogunai, basically, this one's for the kids, and let the kids be happy, and if they've got something that the adults don't have, yeah, let the kids be happy, and that's the way it should be. Okay, it's time for me to sign off. Thank you guys for checking out the content. I do truly appreciate it. And like struggling through the days, but we're getting there. Managed to keep the content going. I've been trying to up the comments down below and replying to comments. It's a long time since I was able to reply to comments because things got crazy here. But it looks like I'm getting it back together and hopefully replying to comments down below. So thank you for the comments, and look out for me to reply to your comments much more often than I have been doing in the past. Sorry for not getting that done, but it's something I'm looking to do in the upcoming weeks and months ahead. For now though, time for me to sign off. Thank you guys for checking out the content, but I'll just remind you that I do this every single day, and that means that you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow.